In the Mount Everest region, there is an area known as the Death Zone due to its extremely thin oxygen. If someone gets trapped here, they are almost certain to die. Most of the fatalities on Mount Everest occur in this area. In 2006, a climber was declared dead by his companions and left alone on the mountain. However, the next day, a team of climbers passing by found a person sitting on the edge of a cliff enjoying the view. This person turned out to be the supposedly deceased climber. Let's revisit this bizarre event that truly happened on Mount Everest. On May 22, 2006, an Australian named Lincoln Hall was preparing for his Everest expedition. He had attempted to summit 20 years earlier but failed due to environmental conditions. Now at 50 years old with a wife and children, his dream remained unfulfilled. After years of preparation, Lincoln decided to try again. The popular routes to the summit are the North Col and South Col, located in China and Nepal, respectively. Lincoln chose the North Col, generally considered more challenging. The main reason is the steep steps encountered on the summit day, which are difficult to climb in the low-oxygen environment. Lincoln's team set out from the base camp at 5,400 meters, successfully climbed the glacier, and reached the advanced base camp. They then proceeded to Camp 1, where they replenished supplies before heading to Camp 2 and Camp 3, eventually entering the Death Zone and making their way to the summit. On the way to Camp 2, they encountered a corpse. The Sherpa guide told Lincoln it was a Russian from their same expedition who had died a few days earlier. Lincoln was shocked, as he had spoken with the man just a few days before. The Sherpas were used to such sights, having seen many. On May 24, Lincoln reached Camp 3, where they rested and prepared for the final push to the summit. At midnight, they set off again. Although only 900 meters from the summit, the route involved 3 steep steps, making the round-trip time consuming, estimated at around 18 hours. Along the way, they encountered another corpse, that of David Sharp, a British climber and one of the most famous victims that year. 10 days earlier, Sharp had begun his third solo attempt without a team guide or even a radio. That night was the coldest of the season. Likely suffering from hypoxia or hypothermia, Sharp crawled into a shallow cave and never came out. 40 climbers passed him, but none stopped. By morning, Sharp was still breathing, but it was too late. He died from hypoxia and hypothermia. Lincoln was deeply affected, but unaware that he would soon face a similar fate. After 9 hours of climbing, Lincoln and his 3 guides finally reached the summit, fulfilling his long-held dream. After resting for 20 minutes, they began their descent at 9:30 a.m., the most dangerous part of the climb. Below them, 45 meters down, Lincoln's teammate, Thomas, had not yet reached the summit. Thomas encountered a severe problem, losing his balance and mental clarity while traversing a narrow section. Despite being close to the summit, his guide decided to turn him back to avoid an accident. During the descent, Lincoln also began to experience issues, possibly related to extreme hypoxia. He developed high-altitude cerebral edema HAC, characterized by drowsiness, hallucinations, and irrational behavior, which is very dangerous in the narrow summit area. He needed to descend quickly, but his condition worsened. He fell asleep, and the guides had to wake him up. Meanwhile, Thomas, who had turned back, also succumbed to HACE and fell rolling down the mountain. At such altitudes, if Thomas couldn't stand, no one could help him. 5 minutes later, his guide found him lifeless, and the base camp leader ordered them to leave him behind.
Tom's dead. Oh, for f***'s sake. Tony, now you're sure he is dead. Oh.
He's halfway down the slope. He's 3 inches away. He's been down in snow for more than 5 minutes. He's not breathing. We'll stop.
Okay, if you are sure he's dead, slow down.
One guide returned with supplies, and another went back to help Lincoln. Lincoln was still above the third step, confused and uncontrollable. The situation was perilous as they were on a narrow ridge. The guides had no choice but to push him along when he was disoriented and support him when he was slightly coherent. Friends at the base camp encouraged him over the radio. When the guide who had been with Thomas joined them, Lincoln, though temporarily coherent, collapsed again upon hearing about Thomas's death. He began hallucinating, believing he was sunbathing in Queensland, feeling safe and happy. With constant encouragement, Lincoln regained some awareness and continued descending. They reached the second step, a 45-meter vertical rock face. Lincoln had to rappel down, but during the descent, he lost control and stepped on a guide's leg, causing a bleeding wound. The guide persisted, helping Lincoln land safely. With the efforts of 4 Sherpa guides, Lincoln was carried further. However, between the first and second steps, his HACE worsened, and he fell into a coma again.
I'm doing the lethargy for about 4 people. Where are we? We're still at the second step, so it's bloody tough up there.
Lincoln, do you copy?
Did you say do I cough? Or do I copy? Over.
Lincoln, us and your family down here, and keep on going. You've got 4 Sherpas there who respect you a lot.
But yeah, look, I don't know what time it is, but I'll talk to you when I can. Okay, thanks. Bye.
His condition was critical, with multiple frostbite injuries. The guides, exhausted and one injured, could no longer carry him. They had spent 19 hours on the mountain and 8 hours supporting Lincoln, now at 8,000 meters, still in the death zone, with their oxygen running low and dehydration setting in. The base camp leader ordered the Sherpas to leave Lincoln behind. The guides made one last attempt to revive him, but he showed no response, barely breathing, and soon no pulse. At 5:20 p.m. on June 25, they declared Lincoln dead and stayed with him for 2 more hours before leaving, taking his belongings to return to his family.
Some point has got to be made to leave him to die.
Yeah, but could you, your best friend? No way.
Yeah, but the decision has got to be made by the Sherpas and Alex. They can't. They're on a knife-edge ridge that only one person can walk by. You can't. If he doesn't want to move because he's just become completely delirious, what can I do? And at what point do you decide that? Because otherwise you're going to have 1 dead climber plus 3 dead Sherpas.
Yeah.
As night fell, Lincoln lay alone in the snow without oxygen water or even a cover. No one had ever survived such conditions at that altitude, especially after the night's temperature drop. His family was informed, and the news spread, sparking criticism of commercial mountaineering and accusations of abandoning people to die. However, Lincoln was not dead. His brain slowly adapted to the low oxygen environment, and his breathing strengthened. A cloud enveloped him, preventing further temperature drops. Eventually, Lincoln opened his eyes, realizing he was alive. His survival instinct kicked in, and by dawn, he was sitting up, though unable to walk due to frostbite. This, paradoxically, saved him as his brain was dealing with HACE hypothermia, hypoxia, and dehydration, making it hard to distinguish reality from hallucinations. The frostbite prevented him from falling off the cliff. As the sun rose, Lincoln had been in the death zone for 3 to 4 hours, and hallucinations were overwhelming him. Without help, he might have died. Miraculously, a 4-person climbing team, including 2 Americans and 2 Sherpa guides, passed by. They saw a person sitting on the ridge, admiring the view and partially undressed. It was Lincoln. The team leader, Miles, approached and asked, "What are you doing here?" Lincoln replied, "I guess you're surprised to see me here. I'm on a boat, trying to get off." Miles, alarmed, pulled Lincoln away from the edge and realized he was in the final stages of hypothermia, where the body experiences a false sense of warmth, leading to undressing. The team reported to the base camp, helped Lincoln dress and gave him oxygen. To prevent him from moving, they tied him up. Lincoln's teammates, shocked, sent 2 Sherpas to assist. By the time they arrived, Miles and his team had spent for hours with Lincoln, sharing their oxygen, missing their chance to summit. Miles missed the summit but achieved something greater, saving a life. After 36 hours in the death zone, Lincoln returned to the base camp on May 27, exhausted but conscious.
I mean, I'm alive now. I got some more frostbite to add to my collection. It's good, really, because my kids have never seen fresh frostbite. So... We hope you're so proud to have the flag there.
I just had to come back.
Yeah, hi there.
I only got the opportunity to talk to Barbara once I was down an advanced base camp.
Lincoln's survival is a miracle, as few survive accidents on Everest. Since 1922, over 300 climbers and 70 Sherpas have died, with only a few bodies recovered. Yet, the allure of Everest remains, despite the risks. Commercial expeditions, especially in Nepal, have lowered standards, leading to congestion. In 2019, 11 people died due to overcrowding and oxygen shortages. Everest sits there, unconquerable, allowing us to stand on it if it chooses. We must always respect it. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.